While studying abroad is a phenomenon among American students, what about those that come from abroad to America to study? And what about, instead of going abroad, you could time travel? Well, that's exactly the opportunity that UWF students recently had on campus. And finally, a sit down with the man who has helped bring life to downtown Pensacola, all while helping those families with newborn babies throughout the local hospitals. These stories and more next on Argo News. Good morning, Argonauts. It's 10:30 a.m. Friday, March 29th. I'm Ryan Keller.
And I'm Hannah Walders. Welcome to Argo News.
Most people want to leave a positive mark on the world, and one UWF student is doing just that in communities in Southern Africa.
Assisting other countries across the world may seem difficult, but it's not impossible.
Orphan to Heir is the nonprofit I started with my mom. It focuses on orphan care in the Kingdom of Eswatini, primarily in one community called Mapole Jenny. We focus on equipping pastors as community leaders and help them to take in children by providing for their needs and giving them different training methods, different pastoral training, sending them to different camps, providing camps for them. So we really focus on orphan care, but we're starting with the community leaders, and that's through the church. Starting a nonprofit was honestly, it was easier than I thought it was going to be. So we had to come up with a name and a mission statement primarily, and then we had to go get a lawyer, and she kind of walked us through all the paperwork. To become a 501c3, you have to provide tax forms, open up a banking account, all these different steps for the financial side of it, and then you create your website and you create different materials to get people involved with your organization. So it's step by step, but it's a lot easier than I think most people think it is. So we work with World Vision, which is another nonprofit. They're an international nonprofit, so they're here in the U.S. as well as in a lot of different countries. We worked with them to do the Clean Water Project. We work with them to reach out to our pastors. We work with them to reach out to find different children, to work with the kids in the communities, to work with the churches in the communities. We also work with the shoebox, the Christmas shoebox for them. Last trip we actually got to hand out a lot of shoeboxes into a community, so that was kind of cool.
We're all bound to leave some kind of mark on the world, so why not make it a positive one? I'm Sydney Townsend, reporting for Argo News.
Early morning practice, late night studying, the life of a student athlete.
A lot of us may know the struggles of being a student athlete. It is no doubt difficult to juggle between school and your sport. But with that comes great rewards, and to some, even championship level rewards.
For me, is my senior year, we went into LSU, Death Valley, and we went in there and whooped LSU's butt, and I took out the quarterback, bruised his ribs up, and it was a good time. It was fun. It was in New Orleans, so New Orleans is always a good time. Good atmosphere. We had one of the biggest crowds there, and then after the fact, everybody's just happy and excited to win. People don't really realize how hard it is because some people wake up and go to class and then their day's over with, but as a student athlete, you get up at 6 a.m., you got treatment, you got breakfast check, then you got weights, practice, and then you're just doing that over and over again. Then you still got to have class on top of that, so it's definitely tough. You just have to find time. I mean, it's definitely tough, and it's a lot coming straight from high school to college. Just, making it to class, then you have practice, and, no naps really. That sucks, but, you balance it out. And if you love the game so much, you'll find a way.
As you can see, with hard work and much sacrifice, being a student athlete can bring you great rewards, great opportunities, and the most memorable experiences. I'm Kevin Humphreys, reporting for Argo News.
Sometimes card games can be incredibly rewarding. Here's Argo News reporter Hannah Walders with more on the story.
Can you flex your creativity and strategic mind muscles with this popular and challenging hobby?
I think that there's a tournament at PAX East right now, the big video game convention, where they're having a Magic tournament there, and I think the prize pool is $1 million split like 10 ways or something. But people like stream, they'll stream Magic, they'll jump online, they'll play. If you do well enough, the company that makes this, Wizards of the Coast, they actually keep a log of like your records of like your winnings when you go up to play. And you can eventually be sponsored. I mean, there's some people who get so good at the game, they quit their jobs. And there's also, there's like a notorious kind of thing about the game too, is that there's a lot of crime involved with people like, literally like Price Busters. There was somebody who was murdered in the parking lot, I believe. Maybe not the parking lot, but like, there was a guy who like went up there and won, and he had a really huge collection, and he, got killed. Some guys killed him and to try and steal his collection. It's a really popular game. I think, one of the best things about it is the diversity that it has in it. It's any kind of fantasy that you want. It kind of yields itself to like any kind of like fantasy that you're into. If you like fantasy, if you like Lord of the Rings or, literally Game of Thrones or like any other type of fantasy, you'll find elements of those fantasy archetypes in here. There is a lot of creativity that goes to this game. There's a lot of imagination. Something that you can do definitely is, there's definitely like a role play element about it creatively. There's a lot of strategy, so it's definitely something where you're gonna be using your brain a lot.
There's a lot more to this magical card game than meets the eye. I'm Hannah Walders, reporting for Argo News.
Reporter Zach Zedeker has insight into the interesting combinations of hobbies and careers.
Many people have hobbies differing from their careers. Here's one computer science major with more than a passing interest in art.
Well, I'm actually computer information science. It was supposed to be computer science, but I switched over through proper guidance telling me that it'll be better suited for me since I'm not high into math. But my degree basically says that I'll be like a computer science guy, but just less math, which is stupid, but hey, I don't know, it's college. I originally started drawing in elementary school, and I kind of gave up on it after I got out of like middle school. So going into high school, I didn't draw at all, and I finally picked it back up like a year ago and started like really getting into it. So lately, I've really been looking into it and trying to get really into it, maybe some type of manga artist or something, or just like put stuff on Instagram or something maybe. I've always thought about drawing for different things, maybe like ideas for games or maybe just illustrations for companies or stuff like that, but I've thought about different things, maybe just like Instagram stuff, but not anything major.
This just shows you really can be an artist and a computer guy. I'm Zach Zedeker, reporting for Argo News.
From catching a Blue Wahoos game at the Maritime Park to hitting the gym at the new YMCA, most of the things you do in Pensacola all started with one local legend.
There are a lot of things that make Pensacola great. However, it hasn't always been this way. One man's played a critical role in making Pensacola into the city that it is today.
Well, I think the key lesson is to deflate your own ego. Because I've learned if you don't deflate your own ego, it gets deflated for you. And it's a very painful experience. And so a lot of the columns I write are really on self-awareness. Because I think the number one characteristic everybody needs to have is self-awareness. The Community Maritime Park was never about building a park. It was about changing a community. And up till then, it seemed like whenever change came, there was enough people fighting the change that it just stayed the same. And then people don't know what they missed because they never had it. When you look at what we're doing with early brain development, that, I sat here like everyone else and looked at our dismal high school graduation rates in Escambia County and thought we had a problem in like public education. And then we brought in Dana Suskin from University of Chicago Medical School. She pointed out that 85% of the brain is developed by age 3. So I think putting in the early brain intervention at all 3 hospitals in Escambia County. So we've done 9,000 mothers right now. And what we've learned with the 9,000 mothers is that before they get the tutorial on understanding how to build a brain, their score on a 10-point scale is about a 6.5. Afterwards, it's about a 9.5. So the fact that we could impact right now in 18 months 9,000 moms is pretty significant. We often compare our insides with somebody's outside. And sometimes we judge people on the outside, which allows them not to let us know their inside. So that's the other thing. You're only as sick as your secrets. And we all have issues. We all go through ups and downs. You know, I go through 4 or 5 periods of depression every year. But I've learned I'm going to go through them. And it's amazing when you share your vulnerability, you end up having a better relationship than a worse relationship, because almost everyone feels like that. One of my articles was when I first became vice president of a company, I was terrified going in, because all I did was think all these other people were smarter than me. And then after a while, you learn that we're all on this, you know, we're on the bus together.
We can't wait to see what he has planned for Pensacola next. I'm Ali Cateo, reporting for Argo News.
History, ancient civilizations, and student involvement right here at UWF. Argo News reporter Ryan Keller has more on the story.
UWF recently held an event at the Commons that allowed students to see just what it was like to live in the ancient world.
So it was just an event about ancient Rome that the school provided with multiple disciplines, different projects from multiple disciplines that talked about how it was living back there and kind of the challenges they faced and what they did to deal with it. Yeah, so I really liked the fresco painting that the art department brought. I thought that was pretty impressive how they made it so accurate. I guess just the techniques that I know are required to do fresco was pretty impressive that they were able to do that many that like difficult of a painting style, and just I imagine it took a long time for them to make it, the group, but yeah, I think that was pretty impressive that they had one of those, and I thought it turned out really well. So I think it really gives people something to do, first of all, and it also kind of allows for collaboration between the different disciplines, and it kind of just informs the public as well, because it was like such an open event to just things they didn't know, maybe things they think are interesting, or maybe can give them an idea about their own major or their own field, something new, or maybe if they weren't really sure about a certain other field, they can see, oh, that's pretty cool, I like what they did with that, and researching that, I want to do something like that, and then they have like an idea of maybe what direction they want to go as far as research or just take their life in.
So if you want to visit an event like this, make sure you look at the events page at uwf.com. I'm Ryan Keller reporting for Argo News. I bet you didn't think about having snails for breakfast. Reporter Rachel Bosnat has more on this slimy story.
Some people probably have never eaten snails. Others might eat it in France when it's called escargot, but there is one local endangered bird species that has a strictly snail-based diet.
Back in '93, my wife and I were both looking for some field work, and we found a job as field technicians working on a snail kite project. Snail kites are endangered, federally listed as endangered, one of the first endangered species listed, and they eat only one thing, and that's apple snails. So the work started off with us doing more of the research on the bird end of things. But as we got familiar with the problem they were trying to solve, which is recovery of the snail kite, we got more and more interested in the food. So I started, my PhD was devoted to studying apple snails. So that's been almost 20 years now. The more we've looked, the more we realize that it's an important food source for dozens of different species. So anything ranging from crayfish, which eat the smaller snails, up to alligators and soft-shell turtles. They eat the larger adult-sized snails. They are a critical part of the food web for any wetland or lake in Florida. The other really important thing about apple snails is they are basically an indicator of the quality of the environment. So in this case, wetlands and lakes. So it's sort of that canary in a coal mine type of analogy where if apple snails aren't doing well, it may have something to do with water management or plant management in these aquatic systems.
Like a canary in a coal mine, the lack of apple snails in an environment can show signs that the environment is no longer ecologically stable to support life. That's why Dr. Darby and others' research is so important. I am Rachel Bosnat, reporting for Argo News.
Transferring to a new college is hard, but it's even harder to make that new college a home.
Making a splash can be harder than one would think. but this student is doing his very best to do just that.
I transferred from a small private school called Beacon College in Leesburg, Florida. I call it a retirement community. The school, again, was 400 people. And there personally, in my time, the past 2.5 years, I knew about, I dare say, 90 to 100 people. Generally, with bigger campus, I like the idea of more people, more chance to meet others, more connections. Despite me sometimes being introverted, I can actually like to socialize with people. Yeah, that's actually why I got my human services AA over there, because I just like to help people and talk with them. But over here, it's like, okay, I'm now a small fish in a big pond. So it's like, you know, that big dynamic where, you know, it's like I was this big at the other school, but now I'm literally just one of thousands. And it's, I've learned to describe it as culture shocking, just because everything that I expected was different coming here. A lot of it good, but a lot of it just different. And, you know, it may work, it may not for me. I have plans in place to go into other things at the school, but I plan to make this college my home.
This has been a talk with a once big fish in a now bigger pond. My name is Cody Graffius, reporting for Argo News.
Good morning, Argos. I'm Kevin Humphreys. Applying for jobs right after college can be a frustrating process. Sometimes it takes a while to find something that suits your career path.
Jumping into a career field after graduation isn't always easy. Sometimes it takes a lot more than just a diploma.
I graduated in August of 2017, but I actually walked in May, so it was kind of a teaser because it was like, oh, you walked, but then you had to go back to school for another 3 months, so that was nice. So since I've graduated, I've applied for upwards of 300 jobs, and that number is pretty accurate, unfortunately. So, and they're mostly in the field of my degree, which is public relations. I minored in marketing. However, in the Pensacola area, you have to have 95 years of experience in order to be qualified as a candidate. So coming out of college with little to no experience, I'm less employable than people other than myself. I would say some of the largest obstacles in applying for so many different positions is really learning what you're applying for and understanding if that's something that you would want to pursue in the first place, and how to market yourself for that position in a way that will be well received by the future employer, to understand that your relationship will be mutually beneficial if hired on. While applying for jobs becomes a full-time job, it pays off, because after 2 years of applying and being so discouraged, I start a new job tomorrow and I'm excited. It's in my degree field. I'll be a marketing coordinator for a local radio station, and you know, I look forward to, you know, starting my career.
Some obstacles might be hard to overcome, but it all pays off at the end. I'm Jose Cruz, reporting for Argo News.
Studying abroad can be a very difficult process, but one student is taking a giant leap in an adventurous direction.
Oui, bonjour. France is a popular European destination for many Americans, but one French student decided to explore America by coming to Pensacola.
I really wanted to discover the culture and to improve my English, and I went especially here because of the weather and because of Florida. Like, it's much better than in France, so it's cool. I'm from the southwest of France, in La Rochelle. It's a little city, and I'm studying in Paris. I think it's like discovering new culture, because when we are in the campus, we are living like American people do, and then discover new people. Like Eric is one of our friends, of our American friends, and he's very friendly, very nice, and be more responsible and be more independent. It's completely different from France because we have more homeworks here. Everything is on internet or e-learning, so it's completely different. So we need to adapt and to work more at home, I think. That's the main challenge. Food. Food is the main thing I miss, and my family and my friends. But food is like the most thing I think for everyone that we miss. Like baguettes, cheese. It's very fun to go to the US, and like it's a huge country, so it's easy to travel in this country and discover like every landscape of it, and to discover new people. And American people are very friendly and nice, so it's fine. It's cool.
So whether you're a student from the south of France or Pensacola, Florida, studying abroad is an experience that changes you forever. I'm Abigail Meganson reporting for Argo News.
With a fan satisfaction score higher than Disney, the Ritz-Carlton, and many others, one team is preparing for an 8th season and a rebirth with a new affiliate.
Improvements in the off-season along with fan satisfaction surveys during the season is what makes this organization successful.
Absolutely. You know, it's been kind of nice. We're entering into our 8th season, and so we, during the off-season, had initiated conversations with different clubs whose contracts were up in the affiliate market they were in, and there were about 3 we were talking to, and it was between the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs AA affiliate, the San Diego Padres AA affiliate, and the Minnesota Twins. And so it was interesting seeing behind the scenes kind of the conversations that go on, and really what it came down to is within the front office here, we were split 50-50 between the Padres and the Twins. The Cubs had actually beat us to the punch and signed with their current affiliate, so they didn't end up moving. But in the front office, we were 50-50. Half the team wanted San Diego, half the team wanted Minnesota. So we put it out to the fans and let the fans decide. And when we put a vote out to the fans, it actually came back as a landslide. Everybody wanted Minnesota. So that was kind of enlightening for us. So from that moment on, the Twins have been super involved, super interested in Pensacola. We actually flew a contingent up to Minneapolis for Twins Fest and got to meet a lot of the fans. A lot of the fans were really engaged because they come down to Fort Myers where the spring training complex is. And I'd say probably 80% of the fans that did that said, we're going to extend our visit to Florida, go to spring training, and come on up to Pensacola afterwards and kind of enjoy the Blue Wahoo's April season. Fans will see immediately when they come to the ballpark. They're so used to our old concession stands, so we had our starboard side and our port side grills. Those are all gone now. We've got 4 new food storefronts that are called Casa de Kazoo, which is kind of a Mexican-themed food offerings. We've got the Wheelhouse Diner, which is kind of a 50s diner theme. And then over on the third base side, we've got Fish and Hits, which is kind of an English pub flair to it. And then finally Hook, Line, and Sinker, which is seafood fare. So all of this comes based on what fans have been telling us on surveys throughout the seasons on we want different food offerings. We're kind of at a point, and the new affiliation is kind of offering us a rebirth, if you will, of what we can do here at the stadium. And so we thought this was a natural time to reintroduce new concepts in the food world. So as soon as fans come up to the concourse, they come through Main Gate and they go up on the concourse, they'll see the new storefronts.
Well, with 4 new concession stands and more improvements inside the park, along with surveying their fans, the Blue Wahoos are set for a fantastic first season as the Minnesota Twins AA affiliate. I'm Luke Thompson reporting for Argo News.
There are many diseases out there that affect humans. Some are not curable, so living may be a little different for some people. Bailey Bosso has more.
We have all heard the saying, living day by day, and some people live by that literally.
Sickle cell anemia is a blood disease. It's hereditary. You cannot get it from anyone but your parents. And it attacks every facet of your body because there's blood in every facet of your body. It's like going through life not knowing what's gonna happen the next moment, because at any moment you could get an attack or like something could happen to your immune system, or anywhere that there's blood has enlightened me in a lot of ways and humbled me, because I know how it is to be in pain and to be scared. Depending how I feel throughout the day is usually where my attention goes. So if I'm not feeling well, I'm usually in front of the TV screen. If I'm feeling pretty good, I'll try to go outside as much as possible. I'll try to, stay connected with the outside world and the inside world, of course. Learn as much as I can, but it doesn't always happen the way that I want it to, so. It's usually a bunch of medication taking and trying to make sure that I don't go insane. Follow your dreams. That's what I would suggest to everyone. Make sure that you have a good support system too. Build a support system if you don't have it. You know, people you can trust, people that actually care about who you are as a person. Well, he helps me so much, so much. I honestly probably would not have made it this far if it wasn't for him.
So some people truly live by the phrase, living day by day. I'm Bailey Basso, reporting for Argo News.
That is it for our Friday broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and being with us this morning for the latest news on UWF and beyond. I'm Hannah Walden.
And I'm Ryan Keller. We hope to see you again next week right here on Argo News.